What's up, you guys? So, this time around, I wanted to finally discuss one of the topics that I've been meaning to talk about for such a long time, but I just could not find my voice or get my mind together on it. But today's the day, and that is the types of coworkers that I have personally encountered, and I am pretty much going to mention all 24 of them, but that is not limited to just this list. This is what came to mind immediately, and I thought these are the ones that I will go over since they are the ones that I encounter day to day. The first one that I have is the one that I admire the most, but at first, when I was new, terrified me, and that is the uber social coworker. This coworker likes to ask you what you're doing, what you're getting ready to do, what you just came back from doing, what your plans are, what you have going on in your life, what your name is, who you live with, where you're from, do you have kids? Basically, they interview you. The first interview is, of course, the job interview. The second interview is done by this person just to find out who you are, what you might be, what not. And it's just, I admire this person because I am someone who is very quiet and reserved. I like to mind my own business. I don't go out of my way to initiate conversations. So the sole fact that people like this exist, this makes me feel like these are people from another planet, and I cannot help but admire them because that is something I will never be. I cannot imagine myself ever being that social. The second person type of coworker that I have is the funny person. This person, no matter what time of the year it is, no matter what time of the day it is, no matter what is going on in their lives, what's going on in your life, this person is guaranteed to make you laugh. They will turn the most mundane of things into entertainment. They will also make work seem like it's not that bad, and will seem like time goes by so much faster because this person is there. And on top of it, nothing sucks more than seeing that you're coming into your shift and then this person's shift is ending. That is absolutely depressive. The third person that I have is the lazy person. This person complains about having to do work, and not only complains about having to do work, but also when they do pull themselves together to do work, it's kind of half ass. It's like, dude, you already don't do much, and then when you do get around to doing something, how are you so bad at it? You know, this person blows my mind. I'm like, how are you at a job, at a work setting? A work setting is somewhere you go to use your energy, your focus, your drive. You're physically invested into producing, but you're lazy. How dare you? Hey, Garuda. So the lazy one is the person who's not necessarily a bad person, but I tend to not get along very well with this person because I like to take my job seriously. I actually care about what I do. So if I hang out with this person, I am hurting myself by not distributing my time wisely, pretty much. Then you also have the creative one. The creative person in a job setting is the person who takes the process of work and they discover a new way of doing it that may simplify things, or it's just very put together and has an attention to detail that helps enhance the work setting. And usually, this person may be that one person who thinks about a new way of doing the job, but also a lot of the times the new way of doing the job is not that a new technique is being implemented. A simple change in how the setting looks can make all the difference. Like, say, it's something stupid. Let's say that you deal with everyday very basic math. All of a sudden, this person can have the idea of, hey, Let me bring a calculator, and that will make your job easier. Stuff like that. This is the person who implements maybe the idea of new tools and makes your job better, or a simple change in the appearance of something like the office, making it more organized, keeping everything clean and tidy, stuff like that. The creative person is usually the one who takes the job and has fun with it, picks it apart, and finds even better ways of getting something done or making something look or sound cool. Another person that I could think of is the person who is driven by integrity. This is the person who, if they touch something and it's dirty, they immediately go wash their hands because they know that they're dealing with food, they're dealing with the public, and it is important that you keep stuff clean and nice. So the person that's very integrity driven doesn't like to make mistakes, doesn't like to see other people making mistakes, and is more likely to go up to someone who's messing up and telling them, hey, I noticed that you did not do good about washing your hands before getting back to food prep, which you are a monster if you do that. But just make sure that you address that because that's not right. I like the integrity driven person because I myself have a lot of integrity. So I like to be held accountable in the same manner that I hold other people accountable. And then there's also the smart one. And the smart one is not necessarily the sign of intelligence. The smart one can be the person who takes anything that you might say out of context and tries to make something cute or smart out of it. But usually they are someone who are aspiring for a better position, but they really cannot achieve it on their own terms. So they have to come up with something crazy to maybe grab attention, and hopefully this will give them their big break somehow. And there's also the veteran. The veteran is usually a person who has been working at the place 10 plus years, 20 years, and of course, it's usually an older person, or the person does not have to have worked at your place for that long. Maybe they have been in the industry for a long time and they have held multiple positions at multiple companies, and then they come over to yours, and you can just tell that this person just breathes wisdom. This is the person you go to for advice. You look for ways to grow around this person because you know they have experience, they're not going to bullshit you. I like veterans. Veterans definitely boost my self confidence because they have been in the game for a while. Whereas for me, it might be intimidating, but for them, it's like, procedure, no big deal. Like, I will never forget when I was renewing one of my insurances for my car. This was when I had another company. The lady was so nice because she knew that I was only like 17 years old. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never had a car before. So she's like, basically what this whole page document is saying is a really complicated and scary way of saying do not get in a wreck, because if you get in a wreck and it's your fault, you're going to pretty much be broke. So I said, okay, I never plan on messing up when I'm driving, but if this is an incentive to do a better job about it, then sure, I will make sure that I stay out of trouble so that I don't have to clean up the mess. So that's what I like about this particular kind of coworker. Uh, Now we are going to move on to another one of my least favorite ones, and that has to be the apathetic coworker. The apathetic coworker is the one that, as the term suggests, doesn't care. They are just there because they have to be there because they are adults and they have bills to pay, but they have absolutely zero passion, zero commitment. They just do not feel invested at all, and they also try to persuade you to be like them. It really sucks to work here. Can you not wait until you get out of here? Like, as soon as they clock in, they're ready to go. I'm not gonna lie, some days are better than others for me, and I am the person who I clock in, I go to my workstation, and I'm like, I'm ready to go. And it's usually when I'm already having a bad mental health day to begin with. But the apathetic coworker just sucks the life out of you because if you happen to be a very purpose driven person, if you're self motivated and you come across this person, you just want to tell them all the time, why the fuck are you here? Why don't you quit so that we can give the opportunity to someone who is interested in being here to get hired and you leave your position vacant. But of course, if you say that, you're going to hurt your coworkers' feelings, and in America, people's feelings are the most important thing. So if you end up hurting that person's feelings, you're probably going to get in trouble. So the apathetic person is the person that I personally like to avoid like the plague. Of course, there's the one that we can all pretty much relate to, and that would be the tired coworker. There's two types of tired coworkers. One type of tired coworker is the coworker who, despite being tired as hell, they show up to work and they do their job excellent every single day of their lives, no matter what. It's like, I'm tired, I don't feel well, I'm in pain, this and that. But no matter what, you can count on me delivering the same performance that I deliver on a consistent basis. Now, the negative kind of tired coworker is the one that constantly complains about being tired and uses their exhaustion as an excuse to not do a good job. And I'm like, well, maybe take some time off to recover and then come back because we need you to be in good shape. We cannot afford to have you if you cannot complete your tasks. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to acknowledge that you are tired. It's okay to get tired because you are human and that's what happens. But if your life is going to revolve around you being tired and you cannot overcome that, then I don't know what to tell you, but just stay away from me because I don't want for my exhaustion to be aggravated by yours. And then, of course, we have the depressed coworker. The depressed coworker is kind of a double-edged sword because the depressed coworker, because they're depressed, they can be the very person who never bothers you, never offends you. They are so nice, so sweet, so kind. They take care of you, they accommodate you, whatever it is, because they just don't want for you to suffer like they are suffering. However, the depressed person can also be the person who, because they are miserable, they try to drag you into their misery. And that is when I try to be careful with the depressed coworker because usually they don't mean any harm. They mean they don't mean anything bad, but they sometimes cannot help it. And I am someone who wants to stay away from that because I spent a long time being a severely depressed person to where I thought that life was pointless. So for me to walk into my job and encounter someone who reminds me of that time is frustrating for me. So if you're the depressed person who's going to be like the nurturing one, like, I'm so sorry that you're going through this, I know what it's like because I suffer all the time, that person is a beautiful soul. But if you're the depressed person who's gonna somehow just try to drag people to your misery, that's when I have issues with the depressed person. It's not like I'm looking for issues with the depressed person, it's just that our personalities are incompatible at that point, and I just do not want to have anything to deal with you while I'm at work. Outside of work, if I can help you with anything, I'll be glad to be there. But just please do not turn the work setting into your therapy session. We're not your psychiatrists. Then there's the coworker who is the parent and all they do is talk about their kids. I gotta take my kids to school. My kids have practice. My kids are on vacation. I gotta take my kids to some trip or something, something. So this can be the proud parent, or they can also be the parent that is divorced and they just do not know how to deal with their kids. And unfortunately, because they are parents, sometimes you cannot count on them for like extracurricular activities. But at the same time, hey, they're taking care of their kids. That's a good thing. We need for more people to be invested in the lives of their kids. And on the same note, you have the single parent. The single parent is going to be not as cool as the regular parent because they're by themselves. Holy crap, I need water. Hang on. That's what I love about life. You never know what's gonna happen. And I'm still sick with my thing from 4 months ago. So anyways, the single parent is going to have an understandably increased feeling of stress, and that will rub off on you if you're not careful. And also, they tend to be tired and moody because their minds cannot be focused at work. Their minds are split between home and work because being the single parent means that you have full responsibility. So, therefore, they cannot be as invested in the work setting, although they want to. But other times, the single parent will focus too much on work just to prove that because they are a single parent, they're not affected by the fact that they're a single parent. Does that make sense? And then you have the single parent that is also the divorced single parent. And if that divorced single parent is a recently divorced single parent, of course, all they're going to do is talk about their ex, vent about their ex, talk about how dare them for leaving them alone with children and all that good stuff. So, like the depressed person, if you're not careful, this person may drag you into their misery, and they can also even persuade you that relationships are not worth it, that marriage is not worth it, and this and that. But honestly, it's too much of a serious accusation to just say that all relationships are doomed to failure, because some relationships do exist. Just because you had a crappy one doesn't mean that the rest of the world is condemned to your fate. So you gotta be careful with the divorced single parent. And of course, on the note of single people, you have the person who is single and also ready to mingle. And they make it very obvious that they're looking for someone. Like, they try to chat it up with anybody. They'll try to chat it up with you, even if you're taken. And if you're single, good Lord, this person becomes, in my case, my work husband, or in a female's case, or maybe someone else, it'll be your work wife. Like, a guy can have a work wife or something. So, the person who is single and ready to mingle can be funny, but at the same time, I find that frustrating because I'm like, dude, is there really nothing else that you can talk about? Relationships are great, relationships are fun. I'm not going to deny it. Like, when my relationships are functioning, I am the happiest creature in the planet. But seriously, there is more to life than just relationships. So I just wish that the person who's single and ready to mingle would kind of reserve that for the weekend. Wait until you're outside of work, because if you bring that spirit to work, it's like you're not here to work, you're here to date. And if you come across a personality like mine, which is very overachiever and integrity driven, we're not gonna get along because I am not thinking about who I'm going to date on the weekend or that day, that night. So, just, I'm not saying don't be an open person like that, but I'm just saying that you need to be able to balance that. That cannot be the center of your universe, especially at work. Hi, beautiful. Welcome back. Did you have a good birthday? My birthday was good. Yeah. It was honestly quiet like most of them, and I was feeling a whole lot better, but my main goal was really to rest. So I spent it being a complete glutton. So if I looked kind of different, it's probably because I gained weight again. But anyways, I'm going to work on it. And interestingly enough, that we're talking about food, because the next type of coworker that I have is the foodie. This is the person who's always talking about food. They are ready for lunch. Even after they have had lunch, they're still talking about food. They're still talking about what they're going to eat after what they just ate, what they're going to eat after work, what they'll have for breakfast tomorrow, what they'll have for snack, what they'll have before bed. It's amazing this person spends, how much time this person spends just talking about food, thinking about food, dreaming about food. And they're also giving you food ideas. Hey, have you checked this restaurant? Hey, have you ever tried putting a lime in a coconut and drinking it? Like that song, stuff like that. The foodie can be inspiring, but also, in my case, sometimes it can make me feel full before I eat, and other times it's like, I love food, but you're making me hate it, or vice versa. You know what? I really am not wild about food like that, but you make me love it. It can work one of two ways. Another type of coworker is the pet lover. We all have that coworker who all they do is talk about their cat, talk about their dog, talk about their snake, talk about their freaking grasshoppers, their iguanas, their lizards, whatever it is that they have, their freaking rodent, hamster, squirrel, whatever it is. They just talk about pets. Oh my god, my cat just gave birth. Oh my god, my dog just had a, I don't know. We took him to the vet and they found worms on him. I don't know. Just amazing how much a pet is like a child to this person. So, as much of an animal lover as I am, it's kind of awkward for me to have that discussion at work. But nonetheless, I enjoy this person because they love animals. But, like, there's a time and a place for everything. And I'm not always in the mood to listen to pet stories when I'm at work. Because at work, I am focused. Uh, Finding or having relationships at work are generally not a great idea, in my honest opinion. Honestly, my current relationship started, and it started because of work. It didn't start at work. It's I met this person at work, and then we hung out outside of work, and while hanging out outside of work, that's when we got together. So finding that potential date at work, it's a place where it's a social gathering. There's people there, so it's a social place. It's not a bad thing, but you need to know how to split that. Because for me, although my boyfriend is in the building, I don't think about him. I'm not looking at what he does, he's not looking at what I do. I am not finding out what he does, who he talks to. I don't care. It's like I'm doing my job, he's doing his job. We get together during lunch sometimes if our schedules overlap. Great. But even at lunch, we can be in the same room and we're not talking. He may be talking to someone else, I may be on my phone, a number of things. But there are people who do mix work with a relationship and it ends up disastrously. Like, so many stories that I can think of that I have witnessed, and I told myself I would never let that happen to me. I would rather not have the relationship than putting up with that stuff. And work, some people at work have made comments in an attempt to affect my relationship, but fortunately, that's when I said to my boyfriend, you need to decide what place I have in your life. Are you going to believe these bitches or are you going to believe me? Because if you're going to believe them, first of all, they're saying something false. And second of all, I am not interested in you if you're not going to give me my place. So let me know what the hell am I so that I know ahead of time what I'm dealing with. And then I can make the decision of tolerating it, which I am not, or what I just said not happening at all. So that's why I don't like to really share details like that with people at work, even if I know them well. If it's something that you incidentally happen to find out about, great. But I'm not actively trying to bring attention to who my partner is. And I absolutely love it when someone has been working for like a year and they had no idea who my boyfriend was. So I clearly know how to keep that matter away from work. So it is possible to make it work, but you need to be very honest and wise about it. If you're someone who cannot control themselves and you have to be all over your partner's business, then yeah, you may need to reevaluate some stuff. But for me, I have had a great experience uh, having my boyfriend in the same building as me. I have coworkers who are feminist, and so everything is political. Yeah, there's that too. Interesting. I didn't think about that. But while you mention it, that is another type of coworker that we have nowadays. The person who is very politically inclined. It may be over feminism, it may be a severe right winger, severe left winger, or you can also have the politically apathetic person. And sometimes the politically apathetic person is not someone who doesn't care about politics at all. It's just someone who deems work as an inappropriate place to be having that type of discussion. But if you were to maybe ask them for a lunch date of some sort on a day off or something, they would be cool to talk to you about that type of thing. But yeah, the people who are severely political, I like to listen to what they say, but it has to be very sparingly. It has to be very, very, very small doses. If there is a task at work that's pending that comes before any other type of discussion, if there's the time, we can address politics. But if we're out on the floor or something, we are never having that type of discussion. That type of discussion usually happens in the back of the house. But the feminist type of political discussions, for me, they are never fun because a lot of the times, if you're a radical feminist type of deal, I will call you out on the things that I disagree with. And if you're saying something that's not true, I will debunk it, such as the wage gap thing that has been debunked so many times. So if you're saying something that's not true, I will call you out on it. It's not limited to just feminism, but I'm just saying why those that type of discussion is usually not fun for me. And then if you're a right winger, I have stuff that I agree with you on. There's some stuff that I disagree with you on. And same thing with leftist. Some stuff I agree, some stuff I disagree. So if you can have a mature discussion like the adult we are, I don't mind. And if you can also measure when is a good time and when it isn't, great. I have no issues. But there are people who have a very strong opinion on things and they really want to put it out there and they cannot really control themselves. Those are the people who I'm careful about when engaging in politics because it can get heated very easily. Fortunately, that's never happened to me, but it could, and that's what I'm afraid of. It doesn't have to happen. And while on the note of politics, we have the anarchist. That is the person who's not necessarily limited to just political anarchy. It can be the person who never follows the rules. It's the person who antagonizes the work setting, kind of like, why do you why do you care about work? Why do you take this so seriously? Why do you obey the rules? The rules are made to break them. Or sometimes this is the person who actively tries to break equipment so that work is delayed just because they're upset over something. Of course, if we can prove that this person is deliberately vandalizing, uh, what is it, the materials that we use for work, tools, of course that can get them terminated. But yeah, the anarchist is someone who I personally like to avoid 100% because I get it. There are aspects of life that suck, but you have to be able to handle something. You need to be able to do something. Rules exist for a reason. There needs to be order. And if you are someone who cannot comply with orders, you shouldn't be in a work setting like this at all, especially one that's team oriented. So the anarchist is not someone who I completely disregard. I like to listen to what they have to say, what upsets them, what makes their experience be bad. But if they try to instill their values in me, I take great pride in what I do. I cannot side with them just because let's cause trouble. That's just not my nature. Um, so again, the anarchist may not necessarily be an inherently bad person. It's just someone who's upset over something and they do not know how to channel that energy in a healthy way. Hi Zamri, yeah, you're wearing the hoodie again. I miss your hoodie. Yay! It's actually a choice that I made on the fly. I'm honestly kind of hot, but also I'm going to go to the gym, and the gym tends to be understandably cold. So I thought, why not? But yeah, my yellow is back. I'm glad you like it. Um, but yeah, the anarchist, you can learn from this person, but they need to control their emotions. That's what I gotta say. Um, Another type of coworker is the serious one. This is the person who, for some reason, you cannot make them laugh. They take everything too seriously. Um, they're just serious. It can be either the kind of serious that it's a person with a different sense of humor and it's tough to entertain them, or it's the person who is serious, as in everything to them is a big deal. Oh my god, you have coffee on your desk when it's not your break? Big deal. You know, coffee, fortunately, is something that's celebrated, although I think it's an abomination. But it's that kind of person. Like, oh my god, the pencil is out of the stationery. How dare you? This is the person who makes a big deal out of issues that aren't issues. So the serious person, I like the serious person when I have a serious matter to bring up to their attention, and stuff will get done because they play no games. But if you're the serious person who, no matter what, you live this, like, I don't want to accuse you of being better, but like, if you cannot have fun at all, we're not very compatible. So we're 50% compatible. I feel confident enough going to you to serious matters, but at the same time, if you cannot break the tension in the air, then the serious person is one that I tend to kind of avoid. And Jordan asks how I'm doing. I'm not doing too bad. Unfortunately, I still have my respiratory stuff going on, and that's why I keep wiping my face like I got issues, and it's because I am sweating and I also have like congestion going on. So I'm in a mess. I'm ready to have my body back functioning like normal. So that's in a sense something that's kept me away from streaming, because sometimes I have like really bad asthma. Sometimes I sneeze forever. Other times I cannot breathe. Sometimes I'm breathing and I'm wheezing. Yeah, it's my body's just not functioning right now, but I feel more well than not. Let's see. Reason why coworkers take everything seriously because they're trying to perfect, driving them crazy. Can take a break to laugh. We are all human. Yeah, like the serious person is nice because, like, they ensure that they show an authoritative type of figure. Like, there are rules, there are responsibilities, they must be fulfilled, otherwise you will suffer the consequences. I have no issues with that. But if you're someone who's constantly like tense, it's very like difficult to talk to you, then I'm definitely intimidated by you. But other than that, the serious person can be an asset. But but it depends on who you are individually. Uh, oh no, that's rough. Please take care of yourself and be well. Yeah, trust me, I'm doing everything in my power to feel better. So, fortunately, during this week that I was off, I was able to rest. But there's still that stuff going on in the environment. Everybody, absolutely everybody around me is sick with something. So, I'm not too alarmed, but at the same time, I hate that it's happening. It's been months. But anyway, another type of coworker is the coworker who is broke. This is the coworker who's always talking about how they don't have money, how they are short for this, short for that. And if you're not careful, you can get caught up in their misery. But I get it, life is rough, but there has to be something else going on in your life. And I'm going to take another water break before I start coughing uncontrollably. But yeah, we get it. It's like difficult to be alive these days. Everything is expensive, but can you please not talk about how broke you are, because then I want to talk about how broke I am. But Talking about how broke you are is not going to make it better unless someone is going to enlighten you with a way to make extra money or somehow give you extra hours for work. But why would I give you extra hours if I need money? See what I mean? There's also the student. The student is the kind of coworker who they're young, so it's cool to be around them. They have energy, but also because they are students, their mind is split into three parts: family life, student life, work life. So the student may be overwhelmed, and then you wonder why the hell are you so stressed if you're young? But when you think about it, this person has a lot on their plate. So I can cut the student some slack, especially given that I didn't go. I One of the reasons I didn't go to school was because I said I think it's absurd that I have to live in such misery, even if it's for a few years. I think it's not healthy to have a job and have very little support, especially in my case where I don't have a family, I don't have anybody. Like, I barely have mom as it is, but I didn't want to live in a circumstance in which I had to worry about finances severely before, during, and after school. And also, um, I don't think that I should be taking on so many tasks. It's not that I don't have the capacity of handling a student life and a work life, but if I can avoid it, if I can avoid that unnecessary stress, I will. Because what's the point of being a stressed out cookie? You cannot sleep well, you don't eat well. And again, this is coming from the perspective of someone who lacks support. I'm sure that there are people out there who are like, oh, it is possible to have to be a student, have a job, and shit. Some people even have kids. I'm like, good for you. Good for you. If you want someone to clap at your accomplishments, here you go. But if I can avoid that and take care of the quality of my life, the integrity of my life, and avoid those stresses, I will. There is nothing wrong with me avoiding complications to my life. If you have complications in your life, it is your responsibility to address them. If you have what it takes to address them, good for you! But I am seriously sick of the people who try to label someone as weak just because they cannot handle what they're going through. It's like there's that one person who's always trying to talk about how their tragedy is worse than yours. And I'm so sick of it. Stop trying to invalidate other people's experiences. See what I mean? So, again, there's nothing wrong with you being the student, the parent, and all of that stuff, but just be proud about what you do. You are resolving your life as an adult, but if you're actively looking for that type of recognition, goodbye. I'm not interested in you. See what I mean? When when a person is sad, they want others to feel sad. Not all people do that, but most people really cannot move on from the high school life, childhood. I know everybody's different. I'm not judging, just being real. Yeah, that's true. Some people just cannot let go of their freaking past. Another type of coworker, and this is one of my favorite ones, although I don't really participate in this, that is the deserter. The deserter is the person who's physically there, but mentally they're not. Or other times is they are physically there, and then the moment you turn around and come back, they're no longer there. This is the person who is not afraid of walking out on their job for whatever reason. Let it be to grab a snack, to go to the bathroom and not inform you about it. Um, this is the person who is kind of volatile. You never know if they're going to be there. And if they're there, are you just physically there or are you also mentally involved? So the deserter is an interesting one. I participate in being a deserter sometimes. If I'm overwhelmed, I'm like, what is the most important thing that I have to do? And that's what I go for, and then abandon my post until whatever is urgent is taken care of, and then I can resume my normal procedure. But the deserter is an interesting case because, again, It's strange that a person can be physically there, but just because they're physically there doesn't mean they're involved in the task at hand. And while on the note of deserting, there's also the absent one. The absent coworker is the coworker who seems to call out one day every fucking week, or every 2 days, or every other day. It's like their attendance is the worst. Or the absent one can also be the person who's just tardy. Like you are constantly late beyond your grace period, or you're also the person who gets vacation a lot. You just came back from a vacation and 2 weeks later you're asking for more time off. And God forbid if you're also the same person who has a lot of time off and you're also the one who complains about being broke. Maybe, just maybe, if we are the only job that you have and you're taking time off that is unpaid, maybe that's why you don't have money because you vacation too much. What is going on in your life that forces you to take that time off, especially if you don't have kids? I'm not saying that kids are the only thing that are going to make you take time off. You could have a sick relative, you could have a sick partner. I don't know. But again, if you're absent and we are your main source of subsistence, do not complain about not having money. I don't want to hear it. And then, of course, another type of coworker is the cutie. There's the person who everyone just thirsts over. Everybody wants to be them, or they want to be on them, or they want to be like them. It's just the attractive person. It can be a physical thing, it can be their charisma, it can be their sweetness. Like, this is the person who, when they arrive, they just grab everybody's attention, whether it be for attraction purposes, like it's like an attraction thing going on, or if it's just this person, their personality just captivates everybody. And then finally, this is something that I sort of mentioned earlier, but officially to enumerate it now, you have the overachiever. I personally fall under this category. The overachiever is the person who, of course, goes out of their way to get things done. And if they get things done, they try to do it extra perfect. They are methodical. They also think that if you're doing your very best and then management comes behind you and they say, see, you did not really meet our expectations. You're like, what? How dare you? I put all of my effort. I'm the best worker. I know that nobody pays attention to detail like me. Yada, yada, yada. The overachiever can be the person who is incredibly passionate about that job and what they do, but can also be the toughest one to give feedback to because, again, they think that the way that they're doing the job already is as best as it gets. And clearly, you need to have your ass sat down and be like, yo, calm down. But this is areas of opportunities for you. So the overachiever gets shocked by feedback when it's unexpected, but also the overachiever tends to be very reliable. You know that if you assign them with a very important task, they are bound to not mess it up. They are the ones that ask questions. They are the ones who tend to be anxious cookies because they're like, am I doing this right? Did I really listen to the instructions right? Um, when is this due? Oh my God, this is due in an hour. I need to move. And the overachiever, while they're working on their task, if something else comes up, they will help out on the thing that's coming up, but also they're still overly stressing over what they're supposed to be actually focusing on. So the overachiever, again, is a great asset, but at the same time, it can be the one that needs to calm down at trying to do too much of a good job because sometimes if you have a one track mind that can affect the business if you cannot be responsive when you are needed where you are needed. Does that make sense? But yeah, in my experience as being the overachiever, I just like to take my job seriously, do a good job. That's what I go there for, to be reliable. But also, I do not like the stress that I usually impose on myself. And sometimes I'm my own worst critic more than management themselves. And the overachiever tends to not get very good night's sleep. People ought to think before having kids. People are too young having kids at age 16, putting pressure on themselves and trying to twisted on their parents to take care of the grandchildren. Yeah, if you don't have a plan on how to take care of your kids, I don't think you should have them. Because for me, when I think about it, yes, it takes a village to raise a child, but a village is precisely what I don't have. And I cannot give that burden to my mother, especially when she has to work. So, why would I have kids if I'm going to depend on others to raise them for me? That doesn't make any sense. My kids should be my responsibility. So, I think that people should also try to not let politics get to them. And what I mean by politics is, oh, sure, I'm going to have a kid so that I can trap this man in my life so that they can give me child support, and that way I don't have to work as hard, and that I can somehow live the cool life while being a really poor person. And I am dependent on this person's payment until my child turns 18. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, it just doesn't. So, that's one of those things in which if I can avoid disaster from happening, I am going to avoid disaster from happening. Yes, and people go by the looks at the job, happens all the time, men and women, and people go by color too. Most jobs crazy bringing their personal lives to jobs taking out on that person. If you cannot feed them, don't breed them. I like that line. Well, guys, that concludes my rambling on the types of coworkers. I have run out of the list that I had pre-written. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, or maybe you can relate. Maybe I gave you a shout out, like I mentioned the kind of coworker that you are. Um, this was pretty fun. I've been meaning to talk about this for the longest time, but I just could not get my mind together on it. So, like a few moments ago, meaning the few moments before I started streaming, that's when it finally hit me, and I was able to write this list of like 27 kinds of people in like a matter of seconds. I love it when that happens. Sometimes I feel like I'm really burned out, and I'm like, burned out from what? Like, I can handle this, okay? I am breathing. I can see, I can hear. What is the matter? Just get it done, you know? So having this time off definitely helped. I love it, Emery. How about being a boss? Oh my god, there are the bossy coworkers. Yes. Um, when you are a bossy coworker and you're on the same level as me, I tend to not listen to you. I tend to not take you seriously unless you're saying something that has wisdom behind it. But if you're just someone who's trying to impose your rules on me, just get out of my face, you know? But then if you're actually a boss in a position of management, legit boss, as long as you're not the overly, what is it, breathing down my neck kind, the micromanager, I have no problem. Bosses don't really stress me out, they don't bother me. It's just when, say, someone who has been recently promoted, if the fumes get to their brain, that's when I have problems. It's like, calm down. You have a little bit more authority. You have a little more responsibility. You have a little extra, things going on in your bank account. But just calm down. Stay humble. Just take it easy, all right? But the bossy kind of colleague who is like at my level, if you're aspiring to be a leader and you're trying to show off right now, you're hurting yourself. Just be careful. That stuff is unnecessary, and we can see right through you trying too hard to have that kind of effect. See what I mean? So I'm not going to take someone seriously if you're demanding for me to like bow to you and you have done nothing to like deserve that. And even then, there's no one I can think of of who I would bow to. See what I mean? So just calm down. If you're in a position of power, calm down, do things right, do not exploit people, and you're cool. All right, guys. Well, I am going to bail now. So, yeah, it's been fun. I every time I take time away from streaming, it's not like I don't like it anymore or anything. It's just I legit don't have time for it. But every time I come back, it's like I just remember why I love doing this so much. I can just sit here and talk, and you guys talk, and I like that. The moment when I feel like something was becoming difficult, but then all of a sudden I go back to it and it's not bad like I thought it was, and I'm like, nah, it's just stress and my occasional depression just trying to get to me. But every time I come back and stream, I'm like, I love this thing so much. So I hope that I can do it for a long period of time. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon.